Well, that was another epic France versus All Blacks clash coming down to the wire, and it could have gone either way right at the end there. The French edging the All Blacks by 1 point to win 30-29, and if I was to put a word to each team's result, I'd probably say the All Blacks would be disappointed and the French would be relieved to come away with that one. And the French now have won 3 in a row against the All Blacks over the last sort of 3 years or so. Leading into this game, Antoine Dupont, he returns, and he is an absolute key man after he's returning for France after the Sevens Olympics. Sam Cane was out for the All Blacks, and that was quite important in terms of that loose forward trio because it meant Ardie Savea went to number 7. But there's a bit of depth at the All Blacks there at the moment anyway. So the All Blacks, they were playing for 3 in a row on this end of year tour. So there was a lot to play for, but it has been a big season for them. The start of the game was pretty awesome from a spectacle point of view. The French stadium lighting up just the two teams while the All Blacks did the haka. The crowd was quiet and there was quite a lot of respect shown, I would say. It's how I'd put it. And well, I think the French respect the haka is what I'm saying, which is a little bit of a contrast to previous weeks on this tour for the All Blacks. After kickoff, it was an explosive start by the French on attack. Unfortunately, they knocked it on. And at that point, Sammy Pinot must have taken a knock. I didn't get to sort of see the replay, but he's off injured early. He didn't come back. Meant Peter Lakai comes onto the field for his second test. And he has to play basically a full game. So a loose forward reshuffle, no loose forward reserves. I think Satiti would have gone to blindside, Lakai open side, and Ardie Savea at number 8. Basically, though, I really did want to see this. I think Lakai is a future star, and it's just a matter of time. Well, this was his time, and he was pretty awesome. 3 or 4 handling errors early by either team. Pretty disruptive start, really, from that point of view. The first scrum, however, went advantage to France. They earned the penalty. Tyrell Lomax dropped to his knee, so a very good goal kick, to be fair. It would have been close to halfway. France taking the lead 3-0. The All Blacks scored an unreal try not long after that. Ardie Savea playing a little bit in the wide channels when the All Blacks have the ball, and the All Blacks certainly playing a little bit of general play kicking is what I'm trying to say in that sort of first 10 minutes. But a really good try. Savea bumping off a few players to offload to the new man Peter Lakai to score a pretty good try. Then a little while after that, France earned a penalty, but they dropped the ball in the maul. So yeah, the next France possession, the All Blacks earned a turnover penalty at the ruck to Mighty Williams getting over the ball. He is a very, very difficult man to move when he does get over the ball. And the All Blacks had a real opportunity at this point. They were 10 metres out from the French line, but unfortunately Peter Lakai got caught in the wrong position and France earned a penalty. There was so from that line out, when France kicked a touch, the All Blacks did earn a line out turnover. I believe at that point that was the second, so the All Blacks sort of dominating that set piece. Yeah, the All Blacks, they were 10 metres out once again, and it was a bit of deja vu from moments earlier, and the All Blacks gave another penalty away in a really key spot. The French kick deep. It doesn't go out, they just kick deep. It goes within inches from the dead ball line. However, the All Blacks are forced to ground it. They have to kick the drop out from the line. But anyway, the All Blacks not long after that were able to get the ball back, luckily enough, but I just thought that was a massive kick by France, and it could have gone either way. It was a matter of inches. But the All Blacks get the ball back, and they're in pretty good field position at this point. The pace is relentless. The All Blacks offloading, making a half break here, half break there, but they're just a little bit too loose. Don't settle, don't be patient, and the ball gets loose in the ruck. A little while later, Mighty Williams made sort of a half break. He's in a bit of space. He should have looked the other way because Cam Roigard was coming up on his inside shoulder. But anyway, just a missed opportunity. The All Blacks win another line-out turnover not long after that. That was 3, and you just felt like the set piece was starting to turn because The All Blacks also won a scrum penalty. It looked like that was the start of that the All Blacks might have just been shifting that scrum dominance at that point. As the French put in, they were deep in their own half. The All Blacks put in a big drive. Roygaard put a bit of pressure on the French number 8 as he was trying to clear an offload to Anton Dupont, but sneaky Roygaard plucked it out of the air and managed to run away and score. Score at that point 3-14. The All Blacks had most of the ball and territory, and that was a fair reflection of that. I felt like obviously they missed other chances, but that was probably a fair place to be. 14-3. The French, they finally get some possession in the All Blacks half, a scrum reset, and then the All Blacks put in a heck of weight on that scrum, but the French were able to clear. A few phases later, the All Blacks just had no players left to stop the try, and the French had scored a well-worked try to sort of keep in that game when they hadn't really been in the game too much by this point. Score 10-14, and the All Blacks found themselves with the ball again and in good field position, looking good for a little while there, but just running out of options. And I think at this point, you just felt like that French defence was starting to really click. So the All Blacks running out of options. They had a penalty advantage, but so they take the 3 points and they take that 7-point lead back. Plenty of penalties in it felt like in that first half. And the All Blacks had one more chance on attack in good field position, looking absolutely gassed by this point right at the end of the first half. And not really threatening at all. France, they didn't give away a penalty, and they were pretty patient on defence, to be fair. Beauden Barrett puts up a drop kick and misses. And that could have been a pretty important moment, but they go into the halftime with a score of 10-17. And you felt, let's just run through the stats really quickly. Territory was even in the end. Possession 39-61, All Blacks advantage. Lineouts lost. As I said, France had lost 3 lineouts. Tackles made was even. The stats I was looking at said 68-67. Missed tackles, however, France had missed 15, All Blacks only 6. Line breaks was 2-6 in All Blacks' favour. Turnovers conceded 5-7, pretty even. I think there was some key turnovers that the All Blacks conceded, though, at key moments. And penalties was 5-all. Wasn't a heck of a lot of penalties, really, but 5-all. I think the All Blacks gave away 5 penalties last week in the entire game. So the All Blacks, they had all the possession, all the stats. They had started to dominate the set piece, it seemed, and they would have liked to have scored another try or even at a penalty or that drop goal at the end there. And I thought France, they would have made more tackles based on that possession difference, but it seemed pretty even. And I thought France would be the team starting to tire, but it certainly looked like the All Blacks were getting tired late in that first half, and it at the end of a long season, and could have been an interest, and that was a bit of a sign for the second half. The All Blacks obviously losing Finau early didn't help either, and Jordie Barrett went off in that first half for Anton Leonard-Brown to come in. So that's 2 reserves pretty early into the game. But second half, let's get into that. The France, they have the best start possible, and they drive the All Blacks deep into their own half. There was an offside, the All Blacks giving an offside penalty away. The line-out maul, so France decided to kick into the corner. The line-out maul was well executed. The ball popped off the top to the front pod, and pretty much the French had a clear drive over the line. The All Blacks didn't contest that line-out. Conversion was a good one, even though it was near the sideline, 17 all, and it was the first try in the second half. I think it was about 3 minutes in the second half, and was that a sign of a bit of a momentum shift? Anyway, Will Jordan, the All Blacks had a bit of possession in the French half. The All Blacks, Will Jordan just did not execute very well. A lobbed pass over the top to Caleb Clark, and I appreciated trying to get the ball to Caleb Clark. He probably needed to see a bit more action. But anyway, it wasn't executed very well. The French shut that down, and you could just tell that the All Blacks were really struggling to break the French defence at that point. And then a little while after that, Beauden Barrett puts a kick through and just gave the ball to the French. Clearly, the attack for the All Blacks just not, moving anywhere as they'd like. But that wasn't a contestable kick. Gives the ball away. So the All Blacks back in their own half by this point, and then Tupuvai puts in an offload, not really with eyes on the support player. Ball goes to ground. France scoop up. I think Ramos puts the kick in, and the French winger blitzes everyone. Boy, is he rapid. Blitzes everyone to score that try. I'm reminded of 2007 Rugby World Cup where the French wingers were chasing kicks, being the first to get there and scoring tries. So that was just one of those against the run of play, and a little bit in a way. But the French, they had really started, the French defence was starting to dominate. They had driven the All Blacks back, basically driven the All Blacks back 50 metres, putting a lot of pressure on, All Blacks rushing offloads, things like that. And the French come away with, they were able to execute and capitalise on that. Score at this point, 24-17, French scoring 2 tries in about that first 11 or 12 minutes of that second half. Very impressive start to the second half for the French. The All Blacks, they bring on some reserves. Damien McKenzie coming on at fullback. So who came off for Damien McKenzie? It was Sevu Reece. Will Jordan goes to the right wing. Beauden Barrett stays on. McKenzie at fullback, and I like that backline option. I'd like to see that a bit more. Immediate impact, and it looks like All Blacks were just getting a bit of momentum again. Tamaiti Williams makes a half break and goes for the offload. He would have been pretty knackered by this point, and you could tell it was a bit just rush anyway. The ball goes loose, but the All Blacks had their penalty advantage. They take the 3 points, and just to keep that scoreboard ticking over, but perhaps should have gone for a try at this point. I don't know. They just had a little bit of momentum. They get 3 points though, and off that kick-off after that penalty kick, the All Blacks got pinged. Cody Taylor in particular got pinged for an obstruction penalty as he's retreating back behind the ball from that kick-off. Cody Taylor, I mean, the players just can't disappear. Of course, this is something that the referees are really targeting at the moment, but if the team that kicks off the ball and the chasing player cannot contest the ball, all he has to do is just run into one of the opposition players that's retreating back, and then they'll get that penalty. So anyway, wasn't necessarily the wrong decision. I'm just saying, feel like this is going to catch some teams out because the referees are just looking at it from one point of view. And all that hard work that the All Blacks put in to get those 3 points was just gone like that. So the French, they take the lead 27-20 after kicking a penalty not long after that. The All Blacks, they started to sort of count at the rucks. I heard someone counting down from 5. Ref, 5, 4, 3, 2. Anyway, so the ref, I guess the All Blacks getting a bit frustrated that it's taken France a little bit longer to get the ball out of the ruck. But then Tamaiti Williams earns another turnover ruck penalty again. He's playing pretty well in general play, scrummaging pretty well as well. Very young guy, very big, but he has got a big future ahead of him. The play was a little bit hectic after that. The All Blacks throwing everything at France, but just could not break them. France turn it over again. I think that was on their own 5-metre line. All Blacks getting pretty frustrated by this point, and I really needed a breath at this stage of the game. It was getting pretty hectic, still a pretty close game. The All Blacks earn an offside penalty sort of not long after that, and they kick 3 points. I guess they needed a bit of a breather as well. 27-23, 4 points in it. At that point, I think there's about 18 minutes left. The All Blacks completely changed the front row. And so France kick off after that penalty. The All Blacks just haven't been able to clear very well from kickoffs. Always kicked in deep, take the ball in, and the All Blacks had really struggled to clear. I think there was a knock-on from that ruck, and it was pretty big moment at that point. France in good field position. Of course, they've got a 4-point lead, so they're throwing the ball around. They have a good crack at the All Blacks, but another key moment was with Will Jordan making an intercept. He kicks deep. I don't think he felt like he had the legs to be able to run it all the way through, but anyway, so he intercepted and kicks deep. France, they're trying to run out of their own 22. I guess they probably felt that the All Blacks were struggling a little bit with their energy levels. However, the All Blacks were led off by a forward pass. This led to another All Blacks penalty, and there was 1 point in it, and you just felt, okay, well, the All Blacks had just kicked a couple of penalties. Had they got a bit of momentum? Dupont moves to fly half, and the French halfback reserve comes on. Great turnovers from Satiti at the ruck, but the All Blacks, they knock it on at the line out. I mean, it was just back and forth, and the All Blacks, they just Started to make some key mistakes and key moments at the end there. Was there a penalty for that neck roll? The little winger for France got in and contested the ruck. I think it was Ofa Tungafasi went in, was sort of on the player, and then someone out, another All Black player came in to drive out, and the referee thought, I think it came from the sideline, but thought it was a neck roll. I struggle with that a little bit. However, France have the penalty, take the 4-point lead. But then the All Blacks got a penalty from the kickoff. It wasn't a referee call again. It was, I think, from upstairs. The TMO decided to intervene there. But the All Blacks, they got another opportunity to take 3 points, and they do take it. There's only 5 minutes to go at this point. Should they have kicked for touch at that point? So anyway, scores 30-29. 5 minutes to go. The All Blacks haven't had. Well, they've had a few opportunities, but really difficult to break that French defence. So All Blacks hot on attack again, and then Rieko Ioane dropped it. So I just highlighting a few mistakes there. The All Blacks just not been clinical. It really just seemed to, in the last 10 minutes, been the All Blacks' biggest challenge this year, hasn't it, to try and finish games well. But anyway, so a little bit more play. The French managed to clear. They kicked the ball deep. Adi Savia, unreal effort to get back to the ball. The French winger chasing hard too. But then the All Blacks managed to sort of get back in behind Adi Savia and Damien McKenzie, and they had another chance to sort of play with the ball a little bit. Then they get driven to the sideline and drop it again. Luckily for the All Blacks, Ramos, he kicked to the winger, the ball went out, and the All Blacks still had one last chance. And that Ramos kick shouldn't have been the play. The French should have just kept the ball at this point. There was less than a few minutes remaining. But the All Blacks, it just gives them another chance. But they just couldn't get out of their 22. They looked absolutely stuffed. The French defence was just too good again. And then Will Jordan was held up to finish the game. It was pretty full on, a typical test match, 1 point, and it could have gone either way, and test matches just seem to be getting closer and closer as we go. But 3 tries to 2, the French hang on to win. The stats, the French did tidy up the line out in the second half. They didn't lose any. The All Blacks did lose 1. Tackles was 191 to 113. France making a ton more tackles. Missed tackles 24-11, so pretty even in the second half. Line breaks 4-9. I think it was 2-3 in the second half. Then the All Blacks just really, really battled there. They made a few more line breaks in their first half, which is why I say they would have wanted to have capitalised on that. Turnovers conceded 10-13. The All Blacks just too many penalties. Penalties 13-9. So France actually giving away more penalties than the All Blacks, certainly in the second half. So turnovers conceded was 10-13, and too many turnovers for the All Blacks. The territory was even possession, 39-61, similar right throughout their whole game. So look, it was a very, very close game, of course. The All Blacks, they were ahead on the stats and at set piece, but the difference was the French defence and the 2 tries scored in that second half in the first 10 minutes there, or 11 minutes. And one of those tries was from an All Blacks drop ball. So extremely close. The All Blacks will be disappointed. There is absolutely no doubt about that. The All Blacks execution was not good enough, but they were close, of course, and it could have gone either way. The All Blacks, I'd put it this way, the All Blacks shouldn't have been chasing this game. Of course, that drop ball and it led to a French try, but the All Blacks shouldn't have been chasing. They had the opportunities in the first half, and they needed to take one more, and that could have been the difference. Because it just wouldn't have put that much pressure on the All Blacks to throw that pass, throw that offload, and of course led to a French try. The French defence, though, it was extremely impressive, and they had an answer for everything the All Blacks threw at them. And the France, they executed every chance they had. They kicked goals well. They were pretty patient with the ball. And they didn't have many chances, but the chances they did have, they took. And it's been a really good start for the French this year, this season. Dupont played and led exceptionally well. Olivon, I mean, I'm not so sure if I'm saying that right, but that loose full coming off the bench, he's a key man. He'd be the second best French player outside of Dupont, I'd say. Ramos's goal kicking was great, and French winger Bielbiari. He was very fast, very energetic. He attacked rucks. He was in everything. I made a half a comment about him in a midweek video that I just made about the overall end of year tour, this autumn series. He looks really, really good. He's very rapid, and he played pretty well for me, scoring that one try as well. So pretty key moment. I'm not going to say anything else really about the refereeing except that I don't think this match is of test match quality, in my opinion. I've said it before. But anyway, my general sort of comment on refereeing, and I'm not, I don't think refereeing was the difference, but there were some key moments. It sort of influences the game as well, just in terms of flow. But my biggest point with refereeing at the moment, I've said it before, but look, a lot of it's being done in the stands or on the sideline at the moment. The on-field referee is not making as many calls or, controlling the game as much as they have done in the past. I guess there's a lot of pressure on. I appreciate that, but this is I think that the fact that there is a TMO is contributing to that. The ability of our on-field referees is getting worse. That's my opinion only. Let me know what you think about that. The All Blacks, let's look forward now. The All Blacks have still got one more game to go, and it is against Italy. There's going to be plenty of changes, I would expect. Bring in some fresh players. Some of the main All Blacks players will be pretty tired after a long season. That was pretty evident today. I would say, and we'll talk about it after last week because the tour's not finished, but I'd say so far for the All Blacks, it's a pass mark for me with the way how close Test rugby is at the moment. For the All Blacks to win 2 out of 3 of these top 3 games and lose the one they lost by 1 point, they'll be disappointed, sure, but I feel like it's a pass mark from me. I didn't expect the All Blacks to probably win 2 out of the 3, if I'm honest. Anyway, and the one they lost was only by 1 point. The French, they move on to Argentina next week, who they lost to not that long ago in July. Dupont wasn't playing in that game, and they have French have a pretty short start of their tour, start of this sort of series. They play 3 games. One was against Japan in the lead up to, and this is in the lead up to the Six Nations, but they'll be very happy with that result, and they know that they've got quite a bit to work on. If you have watched this, I really do appreciate it, and look out for the next one. Cheers.